Welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be a reading vlog, and this vlog is going to be reading my kind of last festive reads before the end of the year. I think this video is going to go up at the beginning of January, so it is going to kind of slightly fall into some January reading as well, but this is really trying to wrap up all of my Christmas reads. So I have quite a few audiobooks checked out from the library, as well as a physical book from the library that I want to get to. And I have some things checked out on Kindle Unlimited as well that I would really like to get to kind of round out my festive reading. Obviously I don't know if I'm going to get to all of these, so we'll see. Some might fall into further into January. I know at the beginning of 2025 I had some Christmas reads that I finished in January, and I know for definite there will be one book that I will definitely be reading at some point later in the year, January, maybe even February, depends how long my hold takes at the library. I've got Lindsay Kelk's latest book on hold from the library, which is called The Christmas Fling, I'm pretty sure. That one I've had on hold kind of since it was released, but it's very popular, so it's taken a while to get to me, and I will definitely be receiving that in the new year at some point. I'm not sure where I am in terms of position at the moment, but that one's definitely going to be coming in the new year, so I will be reading some Christmas romances in the new year, but I predominantly want to finish them off in December, so that's what we're doing with today's video. And I have two books that I want to talk about at the moment. One I have finished and one I'm in the middle of. The first one that I want to talk about is A Seasonal Pursuit by Rebecca Conley. This one I had on audio from the library, and this one is quite short. It's just over 200 pages. So the audiobook I think was about 5 hours or so. So I just kind of blitzed through it in one go when I was doing stuff around the house the other day, and I want to mention that one here. This one is historical romance, and I had a really good time with this one and gave it 4 stars. So in this one we are following Rose, and at the beginning of the book she is told by her great aunt that in order to inherit this cottage, which Rose has always like greatly admired and really wanted and kind of wants to live her life out in the countryside, her great aunt says in order for you to inherit this cottage you need to be married, and so Rose then has to find a husband, and that's the premise for the whole series. I think there's 4 books in this series, and there's 4 cousins that are kind of given some level of ultimatum to in order to inherit they need to be married. So obviously each book in the series is going to follow each cousin, I believe, finding their match. But obviously this one's the first one. I don't think I'll be getting to the other 3 this year, but I definitely would be interested to check them out next year, next Christmas. I think, as I say, I'm pretty sure there's 4. Yeah, there's 4 books in total, and they are written by like 4 different authors. So would be interested to check out the other books in this series, but focusing on this one, as I say, this one follows Rose, and once she is told about this ultimatum from her aunt, she ends up going to this house party, which was, I think, quite a popular thing for people to do, where they would go to house parties and spend like a few days there, you know, with balls and meals and things like that, and it would be a lot of people in one place, and a lot of like matchmaking went on at these house parties, or so the books would lead us to believe. I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate or not, but in a lot of historical romances that is a popular setting for a lot of them. And the person that Rose ends up meeting is called Webb, and he is widowed and has 2 young children, and he realizes that he needs to find another wife to help look after his children. But he doesn't really want to find a new wife. He's still very much got feelings for his wife that's passed away, and he's not quite yet at the beginning of the book ready to find a new wife. And him and Rose strike up this friendship because she kind of alerts him to her great aunt's ultimatum, and he says that he is going to help her and kind of steer her clear of any people that he does not think are going to be suitable, you know, people with like gambling problems, people with like no money, people that are rakes. Like, he's gonna steer her clear of any bad men that are at the party. And it's obviously their story, and they end up falling for one another over the course of this house party. And this one was just a really sweet, wholesome romance, and I really liked that it was kind of a breath of fresh air after reading a lot of spicy novellas back to back. I'd obviously read quite a lot of novellas for my novella video, and the majority of them are just pure spice, which has its place, and I definitely don't have a problem with reading those. Obviously, when I read a novella, I expect that, but reading something that was a bit more wholesome, and this hadn't had no spice in it, was just really refreshing to listen to, and I had a really good time with the audiobook as well. As I say, I think it was about 5 hours or so. It might have been a little bit longer, but I listened on 2x speed, so it went by really quickly, and as I was getting things done around the house, I just had a very good time with it. Would definitely recommend it if you're looking for something historical. This one is definitely a good one to go for. Obviously, because it is historical, there are some Christmas elements to it, but obviously there are more traditional type Christmas because of obviously the time period it's set in, but it's not overtly Christmassy in comparison to some of the other books that I've read. This one, obviously because it takes place over a house party over Christmas, but really in terms of Christmas vibes, they're very low. So if you're wanting something that is a little bit Christmassy but not like in your face Christmassy, this would be a good pick to go for as well. So yeah, definitely interested to continue on with this series. As I say, I don't know if I will be doing that. It'll probably be in 2026, December 2026, when I continue on, or maybe I won't continue on, I don't know, we'll see, but I'm definitely interested to continue on with the series. So let me know if you've read any of the other books in the series, whether you'd recommend them. And then the second book that I have to talk about is called Winter Wish List by Elliot Rose, and this one I picked up basically because of the cover. It is pink and very, very pretty. This one is again just over 200 pages, but less than 300, so it's not quite novella length, but it's not quite full length either. And this one is a cowboy romance, and this one is, in comparison to A Seasonal Pursuit, this one is very heavy on the spice. So this one we have Mia, and at the beginning of the book it starts out, she is very single, and she is looking at spending the holidays by herself, and she goes to this little bookshop and she's browsing the romance section. She loves reading monster romances, and so she's picking out all these monster romances, and while she's in the bookshop she finds out that her ex, who they've only been broken up for I think 3 or 4 months, like it's not a long time that they've been split up, he has actually recently just got engaged, and he's got engaged in the town that she is currently spending Christmas in, and his fiance is obviously showing off the ring on social media, and obviously she's kind of spirals a little bit because it's not that long since they broke up, and obviously he's very clearly moved on already, whereas she is very much still single. And she runs into Reed, who is this very large cowboy, and there's definitely like an instant connection between the two, and they have this kind of meet cute in the bookshop, and then as she's leaving the bookshop, a dog runs over and knocks her over into the snow, and it turns out that it is Reed's dog, Stella, who has knocked her over, and then she runs into her ex, and whilst Reed comes along to help her up and obviously rescue his dog and get his dog back under control, they run into his ex, and Reed pretends to be Mia's boyfriend to kind of show to her ex that she has also moved on, because she mentions it to him whilst they're in the bookshop, and so they end up going to Reed's ranch. And when Reed is there, obviously you think at the beginning I didn't really look into the plot of this one first, so you think it's going to be something between like a fake dating situation between Reed and Mia, and that is definitely part of it. but when they get to Reed's ranch, she meets Henry, who is Reed's boyfriend, and they are looking for a third person to be part of their relationship, basically, and Mia may very well just be that third person that they're looking for. And I've kind of read to, I think it's about probably 40% that I'm in, so we're getting very much, we've got past the setup and now we're getting to the spice portion of it, where they're obviously going to be spending Christmas together, and I assume that at some point there's going to be a conflict of whether she's going to stay or not, and then obviously that'll get resolved. So far this one's okay, but I didn't quite necessarily realise the plot of this one. I didn't look into the plot of this one. I thought it was just going to be a cowboy romance, and obviously it is, but it's not quite the plot that I was expecting, and I was maybe expecting, like, it's very contrasting to what I've just read, so I was looking for maybe something a bit more wholesome than this, but yeah, I'm having an okay time with it. I've not read from Elliot Rose before, but I do have their books on my TBR. They have been very popular. The first book in the series that I'm interested in is called Chasing the Wild, which is book 1 in the Crimson Ridge series. This one was, I think, republished this year. Originally it was indie published, and then it's been republished by a traditional publisher this year. So it's been talked about a lot, so it was on my radar to check out, and I'm definitely still interested to check out. I am having as I say, an okay time with this one. Elliot Rose's writing is definitely very easy to get into, and I think if you like cowboy romances, this could be a good one to kind of try out to see if you like this author. But yeah, so far I'm liking this, and we'll see how I get on. I probably will finish this quite quickly, because as I say, it's quite fast moving. I'm getting through it quite quickly, and once I do, I will update you, and then I will also be picking some other books to read as well. As I say, I've got some audiobooks from the library and a physical book from the library that I want to check out, and I also really want to get to the new Megan Quinn book this year, because I don't want to leave it another year without reading it, without reading this one. Obviously I read the How My Neighbour Stole Christmas in my previous reading vlog, and I had such a good time with it that I definitely want to, you know, get into her newest release whilst it's fresh, so to speak. And then she is going to be doing a third Christmas book next in 2026 as well. I'm not sure if we've had a title for that one yet, but I'm very much looking forward to more Christmas from Megan Quinn, so I do want to get to this one whilst it's still like a new release, and so I can put it on my shelf. But they are my updates for now, and I'll see you in my next clip for some more updates. So I have started Merry Christmas You Filthy Animal by Megan Quinn. I'm actually quite far into this one. I'm about 70% of the way through, and so far I am liking this one, but I'm not liking it as much. I'm not enjoying it as much as the first book in this series. The first one really hit for me in terms of the chemistry between the two characters, and the humour was really on point for me in that one. This one is not quite hitting the same spot for me, but I am still having a good time with it. This one follows Atlas and Betty, and Atlas is Cole's best friend from the first book, so we are introduced to Atlas in book 1, and it is obviously his romance. So he works on his family's Christmas tree farm, and he is he's very much an over-the-top character, and he is very dramatic, and his parents go away for the holiday, and he doesn't get told that his parents are going away, and they leave him in charge of the Christmas tree farm, which he one day hopes to inherit, and he's left in charge of it, and he starts getting concerned when Betty comes to town, because it looks like she is wanting to open a rival Christmas tree farm, and he's very much panicking that his family farm's going to be put out of business by this. And so he sets out to seduce her, and with the help of Story from the first book, they devise this plan where they're going to seduce her to try and like take her away from her focus on the Christmas tree farm. And obviously they do quickly fall for one another. And I don't know, something about the chemistry between these two characters, it's definitely there, but it's not quite to the same level that Story and Cole's was. Story and Cole obviously knew each other prior to their book, and it was kind of like a, not quite enemies to lovers, but like a hate to love situation, whereas these are obviously meeting for the first time. And I don't know, something about this one's just not quite hitting the spot. I still think I will end up giving this 4 stars because I am still having a good time with it, but it's definitely not the same as the first book. And the first one had like a really Christmassy vibes, with obviously them taking part in the Kringle competition, whereas this one I feel is a little bit more subtle on the Christmas. They are still obviously Christmas things going on, obviously that it's set in a town where Christmas is like all year round, but I don't feel it's as Christmassy as the first one. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment with it. I am listening to the audiobook, which is a full cast narration. And I do think that the audiobooks are definitely the way to go with it. Even kind of the like narration style, we do still have like a narrator style in here, but it's not quite the same as the first book. The narration in the first book definitely felt like the kind of like voiceover that you get like in a Christmas film, and it had that kind of rhyming element to it, whereas this one is more narrator and doesn't really have that kind of rhyming element to it that the first one did. So overall I am enjoying it, and I will definitely finish it, and I think it's going to be a 4-star read. It's just not quite as good in my opinion as the first book. I'm here with some reading updates. So I finished Merry Christmas You Filthy Animal by Megan Quinn, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. This one wasn't quite as good as the first book in my opinion. This one didn't quite have the same fun energy as the first one for me, and although I liked the romance in here, there was something, I feel that there was something missing from this one. Unfortunately, so that's why I didn't give it any higher than 4 stars, but 4 stars is still a really good read. I did still have a good time with it, and I would definitely recommend this series as a whole if you are looking for some Christmas romances. This one, the conflict in here we could kind of see a mile off, whereas I feel like the conflict in the first book was not, like, it was relatively predictable, but I feel like this one, it was just extremely predictable that Betty was going to find out about Atlas's plan, and that was obviously going to cause conflict between them. And yeah, this one was okay, and I did have a good time with it, and I would definitely recommend the audiobooks for this series because, as I said in my previous clip, these are full cast audiobooks, and I think the narrators do a really good job of bringing these characters to life. So overall I did have a good time with this, and I'm definitely interested to see the third book in this series, which I don't think we've had any kind of title information or who this story is going to be about, but I'm definitely excited for it when it comes out next year or in 2026, because I think this video will be going up in January. But yeah, I had a good time with it. I would definitely recommend it if you are looking for a Christmas read. And then the other book that I finished reading Winter Wishlist by Elliot Rose, and I ended up giving this one 3 stars. This wasn't quite the story that I was expecting. I didn't really look into the synopsis too much going into this one, and this one for me was a little bit on the long side in terms of the contents of the book. So this one definitely reads like a spicy novella, and I don't have a problem with that. I love spicy novellas. I've done a whole video about spicy novellas, and I do have a good time reading them, but this one felt too long. It is longer than a novella. Let me just have a quick look how long it was, but it was 268 pages, so nearly 300 pages, and for me this was too long for the story that it was trying to tell. This is basically about 3 characters that kind of come together over the Christmas holiday. We have Henry and Reed, who are in a relationship, and Reed bumps into Mia in a bookstore, as I mentioned in my previous clip, and Reed ends up bringing Mia into his and Henry's relationship, and initially it's meant to just be over the Christmas period, but it ends up being more permanent. And the story was fine, but as I say, it just felt too long considering the type of story that it was. There wasn't really any build up to them obviously getting together, and I feel like this could have, if this had been a longer story and some of the spice taken out, I think this could have been really good. But because it was very spice heavy and less plot heavy, it felt like it should have been a lot shorter than it was, in my opinion. So overall I gave it 3 stars. Like, it was fine, but I think it could definitely have been shorter and I would have maybe enjoyed it more. Or if some of the spice had been taken out and it was developed into a full-length novel, it could have been better, in my opinion, because I really liked the chemistry between Mia and Reed initially, and I think if that had been drawn out longer, if it had been in a full-length novel, it could have worked really well. I'm definitely interested to still check out more from this author in the future. I do have some of their other books on my TBR, so they will be an author that I revisit, but the ones that I will be revisiting with that they've written are full-length novels, rather than this one is kind of in between a novella and full length, and as I say, I think it could have been benefited from either being shorter if they're going for kind of the novella length, or if they were going for full length, maybe cutting out some of the spicy scenes. But yeah, overall it was an okay read, and one that if you are looking for something festive, this wasn't super festive in my opinion. There are definitely more festive ones out there, but this one was okay. And then I have started reading the Christmas Book Club by Sarah Morgan. Yeah, the Christmas Book Club by Sarah Morgan. I have already read one Sarah Morgan book this festive period, and this one I have the audiobook for from my library. This is a 2023 release that I never didn't get around to at the time. I really like picking up Sarah Morgan's Christmas reads, but I don't typically read her like other releases, but her Christmas ones do really work for me. This one I'm having a good time with. It's not quite hitting the same spot as the All Together for Christmas, which I read in one of my other reading vlogs and gave 5 stars to. This one we are following a group of friends, Erica, Claudia and Anna, and they are meeting up over the Christmas period to for their book club. They have they've been friends for years, since like college, and they're now like in their 40s, and obviously they have very different lives. Anna is a mother and her children are growing up. They're like in their late teens, and so she's kind of dealing with the concept of that her children aren't obviously really children anymore, and they're bordering on being adults, and how that like affects their kind of Christmas plans, because some of the Christmas traditions that they've done in the past they're obviously not interested in now because they're older. And Claudia has been working as a chef in kind of like a very high pressure environment, but she's recently been laid off, and so she's kind of dealing with that. And Erica has, I don't really know if it's specified what her job is, but she is very much a career woman and is very much focused on her career and travels a lot for her job. And she books this inn that is very small town, Christmas vibes, which is very out of character for her. And when they get there, they discover that it's because of, what was her name, Hadley? Hattie, sorry. Hattie is the owner of the inn. She bought it with her husband, who has unfortunately passed away, and she's left raising their young daughter by herself, and obviously running the inn, which was like her husband's dream. And it turns out that Hattie is Erica's sister, so we're now kind of exploring that and what that kind of relationship looks like, because Hattie was raised by their father and had this really great relationship with her father, whereas Erica didn't have that relationship because he walked out on her mother and her when she was like very young. Like, she'd only been born I think maybe like a day or so, and he like left them. So that's obviously going to be a conflict between the two. And yeah, so far I'm enjoying this. As I say, it's not quite hitting the same spot as the other one, but it's definitely got hallmarks of things that I did appreciate in her most recent release. in terms of talking about Christmas traditions and how that changes over time. I think that is something that I've really kind of noticed this in the past couple of years, how things have changed and how that can affect you. That is something that I've noticed in the past couple of years for sure, even though I don't have children myself. But I think obviously as you get older, you kind of reflect on things that you enjoyed as a child versus obviously now things are different as an adult. Yeah, so far I'm enjoying that one. I have also started reading, I've got a couple of novellas left on my Kindle, checked out from Kindle Unlimited, so I want to try and get those read as well. And the one that I'm currently reading is Krampus Crook by Serena Peer. So I've read from Serena Peer before. She has a whole collection of novellas called the High Five novella series, and they are pretty much all centered around seasonal holidays. So there's been a Christmas one which I read last year, I think, a Valentine's Day one which I read for last year's Valentine's video. There's a Halloween one which I didn't quite get in for Halloween. There is also an Easter one. I think there's a St. Patrick's Day one. Is there any other ones? But I don't think that, I think that's it. Oh, what's that one? I don't know what holiday that's for. Thanksgiving maybe? Oh, 4th of July. So yeah, there's a bunch of different holiday romances, novellas that she's done, and this one is another Christmas one. I am not overly impressed with this one so far. At the moment it's very much giving like 2-star energy, but I do still want to finish it because it is short. But we are following Morgan and Peter, I think, but like spelt slightly not like the traditional Peter spelling, but a variation of it. I'll put it on screen, but I think that's how you pronounce it. And this one is definitely on the darker side. It's Christmas Eve and she has had this falling out with her family, so she goes to this bar that is very much like not a family friendly bar, shall we say. It's very dark, and Peter is obviously not a good guy and he's very much older. The tropes that are listed for this one, it says dark romance, Christmas novella, age gap, just one night, BDSM, strangers to lovers, mafia romance. So he's definitely got some darker connections, and we can kind of see that from the beginning where he sends out one of the other people in the bar to kind of check her ID and things because he thinks that she might be some sort of like Russian spy or something. So it's okay, but definitely not my favourite. I've definitely read better from this author, but I'm interested to see where this one goes. So I will finish it, and then as I say, I've got one other novella on my Kindle which I'll hopefully try and squeeze into this video. But I will carry on reading, and once I finish something else I will come back and update you. So I am here with some reading updates. So since my last update I have finished 3 things and made a start on my final book for this vlog. So I finished reading the Christmas Book Club by Sarah Morgan, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I did have a really good time with it. It didn't quite hit the same spot for me as her newest release, but I do still think that this is definitely worth the read. So as I mentioned in my first clip, we are following 3 best friends plus the long lost sister of one of them, and how they spend their Christmas. And I really like seeing the friendship build between Hattie and her sister Erica, and I really liked the scenes with Erica and her niece and how she kind of opened up to her niece over time and really like embraced the role of being an auntie for the first time. And I liked seeing that, and I liked the friendship between Erica, Claudia and Anna, and seeing them spend kind of Christmas at this cozy inn. I love that aspect of it. I also really liked that Claudia really found her place. She ended up taking on the role of chef at the in, and I really liked seeing that. So really would recommend this book if you are looking for kind of cozy Christmas vibes. This one definitely has that. I think Sarah Morgan kind of really brings that into her books really well, and she does touch on a few kind of more slightly difficult topics in terms of people like dealing with change, and as I say, how that look as time changes, how Christmas kind of changes as you get older, and I think she really brings that into all of her books. So I had a really good time with that one, and I listened to that one on audio, and I do recommend the audio. I thought the audio was really well done, and I had a good time with it. Then I read 2 novellas. The first one I did briefly mention in the last clip, and that was Krampus Kruk by Serena Peer. This one I gave 2.5 stars to. It wasn't my favourite. I think it was, for the story it was telling, it was quite long for a novella. It was 130 pages, but it felt a lot longer because there wasn't really too much happening in this novella. Other than the spice, really. We did have a moment of conflict where Peter had looked into Morgan and found like out information about her because of his ties to the mafia that are kind of alluded to, and she obviously, when he like accidentally calls her by her name, she obviously realizes that he knows more about her than she knows about him, and she like freaks out about that, and I feel it was a little frustrating because obviously throughout the time that they'd spent together, he'd kind of alluded to the fact that he was not a good guy, that he had criminal ties, that he had been in the mafia like when he was younger. So I don't think that she should have been too surprised that he had obviously looked into her and had the means to look into her. So yeah, overall not my favourite. I've definitely read better from this author, and yeah, I would definitely skip over this novella. Then the next one that I read was Naughty Saint Nick by Lexi Davis, and this one I really enjoyed. I gave it a 3.5 stars, and I would definitely have loved to have seen this one as a full-length novel. I think it would have been amazing, because I really like the chemistry between the two characters. So in this one we are following Amber and Nick. And Amber has recently got divorced from her husband, so she is like the sole caretaker of their son now, because he cheated on her and has like moved on to another woman. And it is their first Christmas by themselves. So Amber is looking after her son, and it's the night of Christmas, so it's been Christmas Day. Her son Braxton has opened all his presents, and the present that he opened, or one of the presents that he opened, was a bike, and she is now building it on the night of Christmas, which I would have thought, firstly I thought bikes came like already pre-built. I didn't realise you had to build them. So and I would have thought that she would have built it like in preparation for Christmas Day, but that's kind of by the by. And one of the other presents that the kid had for Christmas was some walkie-talkies, and while she's getting ready to start building the bike, the kid's obviously gone to bed, it's late at night, the walkie-talkie frequency is picking up like the voices from another house, like a few houses down, and that is Nick, and she ends up having a conversation with Nick via the walkie-talkie, and it's just a really sweet, or that part of it is really sweet. Nick is really a cinnamon roll hero, I think, and it was really, their little interaction between the walkie-talkie was really sweet. And then he comes over to help build the bike, and they obviously then end up spending a night together. And we then see them, I think it's like 6 months later, and the child's like outgrown his bike, and Nick buys him a new bike, and it's kind of them having their happy moment, and Nick realises that he really wants to be part of Amber and Braxton's life, and meeting the child really kind of changes his view. He'd kind of talked about wanting to be a dad, and then obviously I assume that the idea is that they're going to have, going to get married, and he's going to raise Braxton, the son. And I just would have loved for this to be a little bit longer, or even a full-length novel, because I love single parent romances, and I think the moments between seeing Nick with Braxton, we obviously saw a little brief glimpse of that in the epilogue, but I would have loved to have seen more of it. And yeah, I had a good time with it, and I definitely want to read more from Lexi Davis. She has a new book coming out in January, which I have mentioned in my January new releases video that'll be coming out. And I definitely want to check out more from this author, because I think she did a fantastic job with this novella. And as I say, I just wish it was slightly longer. And then the book that I've started reading is The Best Christmas Choir Ever by Elizabeth Hirib. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Hirib. And this one is obviously a library book. It came in late December, so I didn't get to obviously read it prior to Christmas. So I'm reading it now just to kind of finish it up. And this one is a Afterglow book. It came through up on the library catalogue, and it is a second chance festive romance, workplace romance, is what it says on the back here. And I've only got a little way into this, but so far we are following Charlie, whose grandma has recently moved into like a new like retirement complex type place, and Charlie meets the activities coordinator, who is called Julian, and her and Julian had a summer romance like 8 years ago when she was at university, and they kind of meet again, and Julian claims not to remember her, and that's really as far as I've got. And then Charlie's grandma kind of coerces Charlie into becoming the music director at the apartment complex, because they don't really have like a music program, and Charlie had gone to Juilliard and is like Juilliard and is trained as an opera singer, but because of her brother's death a few years ago, she's kind of put her kind of singing career on pause, and her grandma is obviously trying to make her kind of get back in love with singing, by making her be this like music director. And I assume the way it's going to go is that they are going to create this choir in the care, well, it's not a care home, but it's like a retirement place, obviously that older people can go to, but there is kind of, I think, care in there, but they're still, you know, very active and whatever. And I assume then obviously her and Julian are going to reconnect. So far this one's okay. I imagine this one just being a quick, easy, fun Christmas read, so we'll see. I wasn't quite expecting, because obviously we have already touched on grief in this book, because her brother had passed away a couple of years ago, Charlie's brother, so I wasn't quite expecting that, so we'll see if that becomes like a heavier part of the story, but I was expecting more of a light, fun Christmas read, so we'll see if it sticks to that, but so far it's okay, and I will update you probably when I finish this one, because it's going to be a really quick read. It's just under 300 pages, so I think I can fly through this one, and then that'll be the end of the Christmas books, at least for now, because I know I do have at least one book still on hold from the library that's going to come in at some point, which I'll be reading outside of the season, but that'll be it for the Christmas reads. I've had a really good time with my Christmas reads so far. Let me know what your favourite Christmas read has been of the season in the comments, and I will update you once I finish this one. So I'm here to wrap up this reading vlog, and I finished The Best Christmas Choir Ever by Elizabeth Hirib, and I gave this one 3 stars. This was definitely just okay for me. It wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't anything super memorable. So my last clip I mentioned that Charlie was taking part in this choir competition that her grandma's like nursing home facility, like retirement home residency was putting together, and one of her previous summer flings, Julian, was the events coordinator at this home, so they were kind of rekindling their relationship. And for me, I felt that this book leaned more towards women's fiction than romance. Although obviously there is a romance in here, and that is a decent part of the story, I feel like there was more focus on the choir and Charlie trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life. As I mentioned in the previous clip, her brother passed away And she is definitely still grieving that loss, and she's very much put her life on hold. So she's throughout the book kind of questioning what she's going to do once she's kind of like finished sorting out her grandma's house, since her grandma's moved into this retirement home complex. And obviously then she gets roped into being part of this choir for the competition that the retirement home enters into. And her and Julian's relationships, they do rekindle their relationship, but I wasn't that interested in their relationship, to be honest. I was a little bit more interested in some of the other things that were going on. The conflict point of this relationship was related to the death of her brother, so that obviously did come back around. It wasn't like directly related, but like indirectly, her grief obviously had an impact on their relationship. And yeah, just overall this was an okay read. I could definitely see this as a Christmas film, but not necessarily one that would be like a good one. And I feel like that's a bit harsh, but it's one of those stories that I feel is meant to be heartwarming and meant to be feel good, but I just didn't really feel anything from this one. Like, it was okay, but nothing really outstanding in my opinion. And so that is the last official Christmas book that I'm going to be reading. We are now into January, and I won't be focusing on any more Christmas books. As I mentioned, I probably will have like one come in from the library that I will be reading, but that is it for my Christmas reading. I really did focus in December on a ton of Christmas books, and I had a great time, and I've definitely discovered some new favourites, so I just kind of wanted to highlight some of my favourites in this video as well, and just also talk about some authors that I've discovered through my Christmas reading that I definitely want to revisit at some point. Not necessarily just Christmas books, but some of their other titles. So some of the favourite ones I have to mention. The first one is one that I don't have, but it is Altogether for Christmas by Sarah Morgan. I had a great time with this one, and I mentioned it in one of my previous reading vlogs. I thought that this was really well done. Really was full of Christmas vibes, and I felt it was a very relatable story. I did also read another Sarah Morgan book in this video, which I did also really enjoy, so I definitely want to read more Sarah Morgan books like next Christmas, because she has a few other Christmas ones in her backlist that I'm definitely interested in checking out. And I might check out some of her non-Christmas reads as well, but I particularly want to focus on her Christmas reads. I'd also love to read more from Julie Kaplan. She definitely has a backlist of books that I'm very interested to check out. Layla Faye is another author that I would be interested to read more from. I read some of her novellas and I had a good time with them, so I'd be interested to read a full-length novel from her. Tanya Ann Crosby is again another author that I definitely want to read more from. I read one of her novellas. She writes historical romance, and again she is someone that I would like to read more from in 2026. And then I have a series that I want to make sure I revisit next December, and that is Regency Christmas Brides. This is a series that is written by, there's 4 books in the series, each written by a separate author, and I read the first one this year and I had a good time with it, and I definitely want to make sure I go back and finish up that series in December next year. And then I have the 3 favourites that I want to talk about. So one was a reread, and that was A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I have read this book many times, and this year I actually decided to up my rating to 5 stars. Previously I'd always given this a 4-star, but I think truly when I have now read it so many times, I think this is truly a favourite, and definitely a favourite Christmas book. I read this every December and have done so for the past 4, maybe 5 years, and I think it's definitely worth reading. It's a short story, so you could definitely pick this up very easily, and I think definitely more people should read this. And then like a very different book is How My Neighbour Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. I had so much fun reading this. It was definitely the better of the 2 Megan Quinn books that she's written for Christmas books. This one just was a lot of fun. I think very much gave a lot of Christmas vibes, and I could definitely see this as a Christmas film, and I mean this as a compliment in this case, and I just had such a fun time with it. Definitely recommend the audiobook. And then the last one that I have to mention that is a new favourite is Holly by Adeline Grace. This one, I just really love this one. I loved being back with these characters. It's just a very, I feel like it gives very much Christmas and wintry vibes, and in some ways like slightly nostalgic vibes. It feels very, I don't want to say childlike, but because it's not childlike, but it just really, I don't know, something about it really kind of, I don't know, made me feel like being young again and like being a child again at Christmas. I don't know why, because this was about ghosts, but there was something about it that I just really loved. It's very hard to explain that. But yeah, if you've read the Belladonna series and haven't read this yet, definitely read this. I mean, it is a Christmas read, but I think you could get away with reading this not at Christmas, but you will get the true effect if you read it during the Christmas and winter time. And yeah, they are definitely some of my favourites that I've read this season. I, as I say, really loved reading these Christmas books, and I would definitely hope to do something like this next December. So let me know if you have any Christmas book recommendations that I should be checking out at that point. I might do Christmas in July again, I'm not quite sure, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one.